is Jonathan Gilliam back in for David Webb. Find me on Twitter, jgilliam_seal, and on Facebook at Jonathan T. Gilliam. And go get my book, Sheep to Know More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. You know, folks, the number of violent crimes is at its lowest level in 2 years. And here's what's interesting. Well, for one, Donald Trump's been in office for 2 years. But two, the number of concealed carry permits hits a record high at the same time. Now, there's no way that that is not a correlating factor. Those things don't go together. I was thinking to myself, who can I call to talk about this? I told the guys in the production office, I said, do not call Tim Schmidt, the founder and president of the United States Concealed Carry Association, because I don't think I don't want to hear from him. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, that's who I said I wanted to call. So Tim Schmidt, what's up, brother? Tim Schmidt, he's the founder and president of the United States Concealed Carry Association. First of all, thanks for being here. Sorry about that, joking around. But in all seriousness, wow, that's an amazing statistic.
Yeah, Jonathan, man, it's great to be here. I always appreciate when I get to talk with you on the radio. And, yeah, it's to me, it's not surprising at all. I'm sure it's not surprising to you either. I mean, the bottom line is that the more good guys with guns, the less crime there's going to be. And the thing that just really drives me crazy, it's so hard for the left and the anti-gunners and the liberals to wrap their heads around that. When in their own life, if they're going into a dangerous situation, what do? They have armed guards, right? And so here, the very same thing that they want, they're like, well, no, for you commoners, it's not good enough. And then the stats come out, oh, sure enough, now there's 18 million permit holders and crime's at an all-time low. Shocker.
Yeah. Well, it's not a shocker to you and I. Listen, we got to remember that the majority of people who are in politics, who are against gun ownership and against the Constitution, they have an agenda. And part of that agenda is not just to de-arm the public, but also to teach learned helplessness. And one thing I can truly say, after having been around this country and having lived, I grew up in Arkansas, but having lived in Manhattan for almost 16 years now, is that in and around these populated metropolitan areas in the country, people just assume that they're going to be taken care of. So it makes it much easier for them to say, okay, so I can't carry a gun here. I'm fine with that, because I'm going to get protected. And that may be the case in Manhattan. It may be the case, not always, but it may be the case. But in rural areas and in violent inner city areas, if you're not armed, you stand a real chance of being victimized. And the way this country has changed, the way it has, even though the numbers are down, the type of violent crimes has risen over the years, where things have just gotten more and more violent. And I think that the rest of the country that sees this and knows this, again, like everything else I've been talking about all afternoon, is that the people need to stand together and start insisting that the cities do not dictate what the rest of the country should feel and do. And we should stop bowing. The congressmen, the senators, and everybody else from all these other areas should realize that we don't have to bow to what these big cities and the big populated areas and the leftists that run those cities, we don't have to bow to what they think is best.
Yeah, John, you're dead on there. And you actually touched on an interesting point. You talked about how, the level of violence has increased. And you're exactly correct. So maybe there may be slightly less crime, but the thing is that gone are the days when there would be a parking lot scuffle and one guy would get punched maybe once and then it would be over. Now, now people are ended up getting kicked practically to death, in those exact same situations. And that is the time when you need to be able to proactively defend yourself. And the other thing you mentioned was that you're right. It's almost like a badge of honor in big cities for so many of these people to essentially to live the life of a sheep and to act as if like, well, I would never defend myself. I put my trust in the police. And don't get me wrong, I love our police officers. That there's almost no tougher job in what they do. But typically 9 times out of 10, they're just there to clean up the mess afterwards. and it's the responsibility of individuals to not live that sleep lifestyle and to be able to be that protector and defender. So, man, there's a few points you hit there that really struck home with me.
Yeah, I've actually talked to people recently. Not bad people, good guys. Actually, very peaceful people, but at the same time, I actually had somebody tell me point blank to my face that said that if they were in a situation where somebody was trying to kill them, they would rather die than have to defend themselves with a gun. I don't know what sense that makes. I mean, God grants us with one life, and by God and the love of God, I am not going to let somebody else take that away from me if I can help it. In fact, I will take their life before they take mine. I can guarantee you that.
I'd like to comment on that, John. I promise you that, that person, that is the most selfish thing I think I've ever heard. I guarantee you that person has people in their life that depend on them, that love them, that look to them for support, that in the future are going to need them to be there for them. And this person, whoever you just were talking about, that would rather die than go through the process of learning to defend themselves, that's selfishness. Come on.
Yeah, but true. It actually happened, and I was flabbergasted at that response, because it's, first and foremost, we are responsible for our own lives, for our own success. We're responsible for our own protection. Ultimately, it's your life. We're not born into this. I know we're going way philosophically way away from the statistic, but it's the truth. It's our life, your life. You don't look at a person and say, like I don't look at you and say, "Hey Tim, how's Kelly's life doing?" Because you're Tim. I don't know who Kelly is, but you see what I'm saying? It's your life. It's right. Tim. It's Tim Schmidt. So Tim must learn and be willing to defend his life, to make the most of himself, to be the best that he can be. People aren't going to do it. If you do something and you write a paper if you're in college, or you go out there and you take on a job, or if you have to defend yourself and your family, you do that and you do it to the best of your ability. If your name's on it, you do it to the best of your ability. And part of that has to do with stepping up and defending yourself.
Yeah, well said, my friend. And man, I tell you what, don't underestimate the value of having conversations like this, especially on such a broad spectrum of the show we're speaking on right now, because it does have an impact. Because oftentimes all it will take is just a small little
seed.
Someone's a seed that will take root and grow. And that's what happened in my life, 20 years ago, and I thank God that happened. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with getting philosophical, brother.
Now let me ask you this before I let you go. When it comes to carrying concealed, I think one of the reasons why so many people don't is because they don't know how. They don't know how to go and get their concealed weapons carry permit. Truckers, drive across the country. They don't. I know some truckers do know, but a lot of truckers don't know where they can carry, how they can carry. If you have an RV, are you allowed to carry in an RV? Or just, how do people find out the rules in their state, or if they're traveling, if they can carry concealed, how they get the permits, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, so the first thing I'll say is that, if you've got a big enough why, that the how doesn't matter, in the sense of, yes, it does take some doing to figure out the best way to carry for you and to learn all those rules and stuff. But I tell people, focus on the why. Are your family important enough for you to figure it out? And once they get that spurred away, you can just head over to our website, uscca.com, and we've got reciprocity apps, we've got holster reviews, we've got literally thousands and thousands of articles and videos from information of folks just like you and me that will share their experience and help these new folks down that path of being a responsibly armed citizen.
Amen. Okay, great. Tell me the website one more time.
It's uscca.com.
And are you guys on Twitter?
Yep, just hashtag USCCA. Facebook, got a big Facebook presence, a couple million followers.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I'd love to put my book on your Facebook page if possible.
Oh, that'd be great.
Right along with carrying concealed is that people have to understand where the threats are going to come from. I believe, and I don't just believe it. I've proven it. I wrote this book, but I've spent. I can't say who it was with, or I won't say. I could say, but I spent all for the past 6 months as director of security for a big country music tour, and I was going into all these different locations for these festivals and working with the local law enforcement, working with the promoters and the security personnel that were there, and teaching a lot of them, because they don't really know how they can do this, but teaching them and also working with them to identify the vulnerabilities, the avenues of approach, the times that an attack can happen, the location that it can happen, and helping them mitigate all those circumstances. People can do this. You don't have to be an expert like myself. Now, when you combine that awareness with carrying concealed, it's unbelievable how secure you will actually be.
Amen. I can't wait to recommend your book to my folks.
Okay. I'll get in touch with you offline, and we'll get that up there, because people need to realize this is a skill set they can learn. Just like carrying a weapon, they can learn that skill set.
As usual, John, awesome talking with you. Appreciate it.
You got it. God bless Tim, and God bless everybody out there that does carry conceal or that's wanting to do it. You can go out and you can find the resources. Again, you go to their website, you go to their Facebook page, and you will eventually find out what you need to know if you have the will. www.usconcealedcarry.com, and then they're also on Facebook and Twitter. This is Jonathan Gillum filling in for my good buddy David Webb. I love filling in, even on a Friday. And I got to just give a shout out to David and to Greg here at Sirius for mentoring me. It brought back some memories when I was talking to Gary earlier, because I've been doing this now for almost 5 years, and it's been huge. Learning how to communicate on radio, to communicate with you all,